Hi, my name is Dr. Trevor Littleton, and I want to thank you for joining our class on Orphan Hosting 101. Now, many of you have signed up for this class, number one, because you had to, but number two, really, you're here because you have a heart for the orphan, and for whatever reason, you have been turned to this program, and you've been turned on to what we do. And our burden really is just to make an impact and change the life of the orphan, and to do what Christ calls us to do in reaching out for the orphan and to care for them. And you're here, and this is an exciting process, but it's scary. And it's okay to admit that you're scared, but we're here to make this as least scary, as fun, and as beneficial to you and for the child, to your family, and to others as this possibly can be. So this is a multi-module course. So essentially what that means is we will have a series of 10-minute courses designed for video lectures, and we'll have times of question and answer. At the end of this program, we will have a chance for a live call and discussions so that one of the representatives can just talk and just really share their heart and their stories and their testimonies with everyone else. Just a little bit about me. I am a father of 9. Yes, you heard me, 9. We have 4 biological. We have 5 whom we adopted. 3 of those 5 we actually hosted. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 of them we hosted. So, but we've hosted, my wife and I, multiple times. I know the drill. We've been through there many times, and we're very excited about what God has done in our life for our family. I've seen what God has done for other lives and other families. Few things to know about hosting. This is orphan hosting. It is not adoption. Many families are able to adopt children they host. Some families are not able to adopt families whom they host. Those situations, every situation really is different, but we must have a disclaimer that we don't go into hosting with the idea to adopt. This is something that if those opportunities come up, we can. But for now, we focus on the child. We focus on his or her time with us here in America. So orphan hosting begins. Basically, this is something that is a program that is children from overseas. Now, there's a few things you need to understand about what happens to children who are orphaned overseas versus what happens to children who are in foster care here in America. Both issues, foster care and orphanage living, institutional living, they both have their challenges, and they both have their ups and their downs. And you and I, we know people, whether they go to our church, they're in our family, or perhaps you have yourself fostered a child. But one of the things that we must caution you on is no matter what you know from foster care, some of that does apply to what you may or may not encounter with orphan hosting, but some of it may not. There is a stigma for the orphan around the world. And when I say orphan, we have to differentiate what is happening here. There is a true orphan and a social orphan. The social orphan is a child who's just been separated from their parents. Now, this might be for reasons of poverty, it could be for reasons of war, social statuses and things that have happened to the child overseas with mom and dad. It could be for a variety of reasons, but it's a child who's been separated from mom and dad for whatever that cause may be. A true orphan is a child who has lost their parents. So they are orphaned. And if there's somebody who's perhaps lost a mom, they are orphaned. If they've lost mom, dad, they are what we call a double orphan. They've lost that ability. And so a lot of children end up in an orphanage. And this is where it's different from American living in our foster system. Is in America, we see a great value in having children in the family unit. And we believe that family and belonging is essential to what happens for the child. Overseas, they need to protect these children as well. So they do the same things that they can, the best they can with their resources, but they have orphanages, which is an institution. So a child will live with several other children and workers from the orphanage who oversee their needs. Now, all their needs are met. They're eating, they're receiving clothing, they have shelter. But there's a difference with orphanage living and institutional living versus our American foster care system is the ability for one-on-one relationships in the family unit and a family environment. So what that means is that many of the behavior patterns that you will notice when you bring a child home, they're just different. They will act different, they will behave differently. Their brain chemistry to one point or another is altered. So I want you to think about this for a moment. A hosting program is going to last anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. So let's say on average it's about 5 weeks. Now, there are things you can accomplish in 5 weeks with a child, and there are things that you cannot. So let's go back even further and ask this question. Why host an orphan? Why do this program? And you've likely had some of these discussions with your spouse. You've perhaps heard them from other friends and family. You've heard them from people at church. If I host a child, wouldn't you feel guilty sending them back? And other stigmas that go on there. I'm here to tell you, it's better to have love. And it's better for these children to experience the family environment. So we bring them from the orphanage, we bring them from another country into our home to share in a family experience and environment with them. One of the girls who my wife and I had hosted before, we knew going into it that she was host only. There was absolutely no way this girl would be adopted. But we brought her in. She stayed in our home for, I think it was close to 6 weeks. We had a great time with her. She was a wonderful girl. We still, to this day, now 3 years removed, we still speak to her. We still are in connection with her. She had a great attitude. There were totally some challenges we had to deal with her that were cultural issues and such. But you know what? We still have a great relationship with her today. Now, yeah, she was in our house for just a few weeks, but she's been in our hearts forever. We still are, like I said, we're in contact with her as she has moved over and she's doing well now, and it's been great to see that. That's the story for some families, is that we make these relationships. The relationship doesn't have to end at 6 weeks, and there are other ways that we can continue communication. Sometimes, however, those relationships do end at that time, but what you're leaving is a legacy of love with the child who is there. So there are things that we can accomplish in 5 weeks, and they are notably just giving a family environment, teaching life skills, just what it's like to be a good mom, to be a good dad, to be somebody who's active in chores, to have success and what success is, and to provide these children with goals when they go back home and they endure life on the other side of your home. There are some things that you're not going to cure in 5 weeks. We have to remember that an orphan is a child from a hard place. And Dr. Karen Purvis has coined this very well, and I would really encourage you, if you have not already, to check out Dr. Karen Purvis's work from Texas Christian University. She really has left a remarkable legacy in understanding the behavior of the orphan and the behavior of children who've endured trauma. And any child who has found themselves in an orphanage, this is a circumstance that is outside their family unit. So this is a circumstance that essentially is, this is not the way they should have grown up. They've endured challenges that are unique, challenges that have provided life obstinate and difficult for them. And so what we essentially have is we have children who have come from hard places, and you're going to endure this. You cannot in 5 weeks eradicate the trauma that a child has suffered over the course of a lifetime. You can help them heal, you can give them hope, you can provide encouraging words, but you are not going to allow this child to heal permanently and overcome those things. These things take much longer than 5 weeks. They take a lifetime. They can't happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in my own household. But they do take a long time. I've also seen that happen in my own household. Some other goals that we know we can accomplish in 5 weeks are things like manners, just the American experience in general, and just how somebody can model gratitude, and you'd be surprised how far a smile can go, especially whenever you're hosting a child from Eastern Europe. You would be surprised how far a smile can go. Our daughter that we've adopted here just this past year, I asked her, I said, what's one of the things that you love about America? And she looked at me for a minute and she scratched her head. She said lasagna, which I tried to explain to her that was a little Italian, but we do it a little different. But she said she loves how people in America smile, because when we first brought her home, and in the picture that we had seen of our Violetta, she was just stone-faced. And when we brought her home, into our home, she just was not a girl to smile. And now she's bright and she smiles all the time, and her heart now is glowing. But she said one of the things that took her by surprise was how much just Americans smiled. So we've had a lot of discussions in our own home about manners and how to model good behavior and personal hygiene, and teaching a kid, this is deodorant, this is how you use deodorant, this is why it's important to understand, put deodorant on daily, sometimes multiple times a day. No, it's important to brush your teeth. We are surprisingly teachers of many things that you may not expect. Little things, intricacies, and much larger things. But there are things you can accomplish in a 5-week hosting period. There are certain things that you cannot. And you're going to learn really on the fly what some of those things are. But love is really universal, and showing a child love and acceptance and warmth and care, that you genuinely care for them, can just go a very long way. So there are certain goals that we have to set and that we have to look forward to as we are discussing the outcomes of hosting and the reasons why we do this. And for sometimes it's respite care. For sometimes it's just things as far as cultural exchange, language barriers and teaching new languages. It's expanding their horizon almost as an exchange situation. But there are reasons that we host. And we're going to get into those reasons as the course goes by. So again, here's what you should expect. These things today in this discussion, this module, this is introduction. And what you need to expect in the time to come are many very deep discussions as far as what particular behaviors you may encounter and how to navigate these waters as far as sleep patterns and behavior patterns and just odd quirks that children from other cultures will have, and maybe odd quirks that you would do that you might not even be aware of with these children. And we're going to navigate some pretty deep waters, and we're going to get pretty deep quick. So I hope to see you guys on the other modules, and thank you once again for signing up for our class, Orphan Hosting 101.